In this video, you will learn more about how to calculate gross pay, federal tax, state tax, and net pay. Make sure that you have your Wisconsin Supply worksheet in front of you. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the screen bigger for you. You don't have to make yours that big. Okay, what we're going to do is, obviously these are employees. Most of you, or pretty much all of you, at one point or another, will have a job. So we're going to kind of figure this out. We're not going to use math in our head. We're going to use formulas to calculate all of this. So to start with, we're going to start with gross pay. So we're going to say that Dan makes $15.35 per hour, and he worked 35 hours that week. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our equal sign. We're going to take our rate of pay, rate of pay, and we're going to multiply that with our hours. So rate times hours. This will give us his gross pay. Now gross pay is the money you make before taxes are taken out. Go ahead and click on your answer, go to the bottom right hand corner and fill the formula down. Alright, now over to federal tax. Now federal tax and state tax, you're going to have to kind of be aware of this. You're going to have to individually calculate each one. So federal tax, you're going to multiply with the gross pay, and notice there's the 8% here, and state tax, you're going to have to multiply with the gross pay. Now there's something new I'm going to teach you, and you're going to need to use this with this spreadsheet here with what we're learning. And what it's called is absolute reference. And if you'll come down here to the bottom here, notice that we have dollar signs here. We are actually going to freeze cells, and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. Let's go ahead and start out with our equal sign, and we're going to click on gross pay, and then we're going to multiply, because we have to multiply the tax, with cell E3. Now what I want to do is show you the problem here. Now the problem doesn't come right away. It comes when you start to copy down the formula, and then it gives you an error message. Now the reason why it gives you the error message is because as we move down from here, from like D5 to D6, the formula is changing. Now what happened here is that it moved from cell E3 to cell E4. Well, there's no information in cell E4 that we need for the multiplication. It's still back up here in E3. But when we copy down the formula, it's going to automatically move. So what we're going to do is we are going to come back up here to E5, and we're going to key in the formula differently. So I need you to go back to cell E5, click on it, put your equal sign in there, go to your gross pay, that's still the same, multiply, that's still the same. Here's where it's different. Now notice that 8% is in column E, and remember that columns run up and down. What we need to do is put dollar sign E for column E, because we're freezing something in that column, and then you'll notice that this 8% is in row 3. So we need to do dollar sign 3. Now once you do this, you should have some kind of line around here. Mine's red, yours might be red too. That lets you know that, hey, you have just selected E3 to be frozen. Enter, go back to your answer, go to the bottom right hand corner and pull or copy down. Now it copied the formula, so what it did is it changed the formula from cell D5 to D6, but it froze, it kept the same E3. Let's take a look at that. If I click on E5, notice up here in my formula bar, it says $E, $3. If I click on cell E6 with this answer, notice that $E, $3 is still the same. Yes, you have to go through this process. You're learning a couple different things here, but most importantly, you're learning the absolute reference formula, meaning that you're freezing a cell. That's the point of this learning here in the assignment that you'll be doing. So please don't hand key in anything other than the absolute formula with, or the absolute reference with this formula. Okay, we're going to do it again. This time notice that we are in a different column. So we're going to start with our equal sign. We still have to use gross pay because we're figuring out that tax. Multiply. Click on F3. Oh, I'm sorry. Backspace that. We need to do the dollar sign. Dollar sign F and dollar sign 3. Now we did the dollar sign F because we're in column F, and we did the dollar sign 3 because we are in row 3. That is where this 5% is. So your formula should be equal sign D5 times dollar sign F dollar sign 3. Enter. Click back on it. Bottom right hand corner. There we go. Now, net pay. You still need to think about this. It's a paycheck. So once you have your gross pay, they're going to take out, meaning they're taking away your federal and state tax out of the amount of that gross pay amount. So what you have here for gross pay is not going to be more. Remember, taxes are taken away from you. So you're subtracting out. So this is a slightly longer formula, but not a big deal. So we have our equal sign. We need to start with our amount of gross pay. Then we're going to subtract. We're going to take out our first tax, which is the federal tax. And then we're going to subtract the state tax. So it's really important for net pay that you remember it's gross pay minus federal minus state. So you're going to have 3 cells in here, 1, 2, 3, that you need to use to get your net pay. Enter, pull that down. Now, notice here that you have your net pay and you have more decimal places than what you need. So you can go up here to decrease decimal, click, and there you go. It rounds it up to 41. Now, you'll notice here that you have a totals. And your total starts here in column D. You're going to go up to the auto sum, make sure the lines are around the correct information, and then you can enter. And then I'm going to copy over, so the formula is copy over. And again, notice that I have a lot of decimal places going on here. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. So we're going to decrease decimal. Oops. And if you need to increase decimal, that's fine too. Just as long as it looks like you have your 2 decimal places after the period there. Okay, sheet 2. I'm going to make it bigger. Gross pay. Remember, gross pay, rate times hours. Equal sign, rate times hours. Enter. Pull down. Federal tax. Equal sign, gross pay, times. Now remember, we have to use the absolute reference. So we need to do dollar sign E, because that's the column that this 8% is in. And then we need to do dollar sign. Remember, it's row 3 that this 8% is in, 3. Notice you have the line around it. You've frozen that. Let's go ahead and pull that down. Next. Again, we have to figure out state tax. Equal sign, going back to gross pay, times. And we are in column F, so it's dollar sign F. And we are still in row 3, so it's dollar sign 3. Pull that down. All right, our net pay. Remember, it's a little longer formula. Equal sign. Starting out with the gross pay, then taking out the taxes. Minus federal, minus state. Very good. Remember, you're going to have some extra decimal places. Go ahead and decrease decimal. Let's get those looking right. over to your row that has the totals in it. Click on your AutoSum. The lines are around the correct information. Enter. Copy that over. I'm going to decrease decimal. Whoops, I'm going to have to increase it. There you go. As long as you have your 2 decimal places, you're good. You might have to mess around with the increase and decrease, but eventually you'll get it to where it needs to be. Sheet 3. Okay. I'm going to run through this a little faster. See if you can get the answers I got.